All right, Stanford gets it done over Kansas State in a hard-fought Friday night game, 26-13 to open the season. We bring in Nick Dempsey from Rule of Tree to help us sort this thing out. We're just minutes from the conclusion of the game, Nick, and so your first impressions of the Cardinals' first win.
First impressions, they're going to have a dang good defense. It's going to be an exciting year. They came back to party in the backfield. I think they had just shy of 10 sacks, or maybe pretty close. They had a couple interceptions. That secondary needs to get on the same page in a few spots, but, man, they're looking real strong in the secondary. A lot of concerns on the offensive line, though. Not a lot of room to run up the middle. In fairness, statistically, Kansas State is very strong on their defensive front, but McCaffrey, most of his production really came on 2 or 3 plays. While that did net 14 or so points, can't really rely on that. They're going to have to get better in the middle. Ryan Burns, fantastic. Started out the game. I think he started out 10 for 10. Made clutch throw after clutch throw, hit a 40-yarder to Michael Rector for the first touchdown of the game, first play of the second quarter. Curiously, Shaw still stuck with his plan to bring in the other guy at the third possession, which I thought was weird because Burns was really starting to cook. And then he went back to Burns. But I think Ryan Burns is going to be great. I think Stanford's got to get stronger in the middle on offense, and this defense is going to be fun to watch this year.
When you said he started to cook, I was thinking the same exact thing. I actually tweeted to you at some point. I was waiting for him to make a bad throw, and it took about 10 or 11 throws. And I think his first throw, actually, the receiver had his hands on the ball. It was a little bit low, but that was the first incompletion of the night for Ryan Burns. So he came out, and he had a couple 3 or 4 safe throws on the target. Good throws, and then he really started to rip it and make some difficult throws downfield on the money, and then he's out of the game for a series. And then Kansas State's defense started to take hold and, like you say, bottled up Christian McCaffrey. That's usually target number 1, aim number 1 for any defense facing the Cardinal. 22 for 126 for Christian McCaffrey, so it comes out to 5.7. It looks pretty, but it was basically, like you say, 2 or 3 runs. The 41-yarder that clinched the game with about a minute left was the icing on the cake and got him over 100 yards. But Kansas State, for not mounting much of an offense and really not taking advantage of some early scoring chances. And when I say early, I mean some first half scoring chances. And then one in particular in the third quarter when it was 17-6, they had their most impressive drive. They went 15 plays all the way down the field. They missed a field goal. Then they got the late score. And it's a 19-13 game. It's a 1 possession after they get backed up in the end zone for the safety. Jordan Watkins, the punter for Stanford, on 2 consecutive possessions basically bottled up Kansas State down there at the 1-yard line. And on the second try, they get the safety. But Kansas I don't know if Stanford was surprised. They shouldn't have been with only 4 minutes left. K-State needed the football, and so they went with the onside kick. It's something you rarely see after a safety.
But you could see on the sideline on that onside, David Shaw was about as steamed as he'll show. He was upset because, and I don't think he was upset with the players. I think he was upset that none of the coaching staff dialed that up and said, hey, they need points. They don't have a lot of time left. Nobody said watch for the onside. You could tell he was upset. He's not the most emotive human being on the planet, but you could clearly see he knew he had the game right then and there. It was won. It was over. And he let him back in it because they made a blunder. And that's something that's going to be brought up tomorrow or Sunday or the next time they meet for sure. I really love what the punter did. That's very, very Jim Tressel-esque, I know. But that punter, man. And credit to the squad that kept down on him inside the 10. That was great work on their part. But we're going to get – it looks like unless the offensive line can really start to get it together and open up runs in the middle or open up space in the middle, we're going to get back to that old stout defense of Stanford, play great field position, and then pick your shots. But there's going to be a lot of work to be done in this bye week coming up for the Stanford offensive line in particular. They're going to have to get it together. They got away with it with Kansas State, but and they'll probably get away with it with USC looking kind of soft up front on defense. But UCLA, Eddie Vanderdoes comes to mind, Notre Dame, Washington, all of those coming up in the next 6 weeks. The way the offensive line looked tonight, I don't think they're going to hold up well against a lot of those defenses coming up in the next month and a half.
And that's the problem with game one analysis is you have to wait until 3 or 4 more games are played until you know whether Kansas State's front's really that good or the offensive line issues are going to continue.
And of course, you always get game one sloppiness. Yeah,
I'm guessing that the Wildcats are formidable in the front seven, but not one of the country's best. So they played extremely well up front, and like you say, didn't necessarily put a ton of pressure on the quarterback consistently, but it was more the run stuffing and the negative plays that they were able to pull off. Jordan Willis, one of the best in the Big 12, was wreaking havoc all night. All right, so again, Stanford proves to be the better football team over Kansas State at home, 26-13, but very hard fought. So credit Bill Snyder, of course, giving a top team run for their money at 19-13 with a couple minutes left. But the Cardinal hold on for a fairly impressive win in spots with now 15 days off to prepare for a vaunted 5-game stretch that we've talked about many times, Nick. Nick Dempsey from Rule of Tree helping us out on Stanford K-State instant analysis. We appreciate it, Nick.
Of course, Mark, anytime.